Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. V-shaped economic recoveries are possible. They're absolutely possible. But generally, a V-shaped recovery happens when the damage isn't so deep. If it's a surface level cut, it heals pretty quickly. But when you have systemic rot, when you have over a decade of inflating this massive economic bubble, over a decade of garbage Keynesian economics, printing money and devaluing currency and moving away from the basic fundamentals of what real value and real money is, when money becomes just a concept, it's no longer tied to any physical gold or anything actually tangible, when you have a decade of monetary fiscal irresponsibility, and then possibly one of the most damaging economic moments in world history, I'd say, which was the liberal response across the Western world to the pandemic, the chances of a V-shaped recovery become less and less likely. And this is the stance that I've taken since the start. A lot of people think I'm crazy, but during the early days of the Biden administration, I pulled out roughly 75% of what I had invested out of the markets. Now, I'm not going to go into what I've purchased and how I've been trying to beat inflation, but I still haven't put my money back in. And I'm not qualified to give financial advice. And honestly, a lot of what I've been doing has actually been against the financial advice that I've been getting. But the reason I'm saying this and the reason that I've done that is because I'm just not buying it. This idea that the economy has miraculously just overnight fixed itself. This idea that we're on the road to recovery and it's the greatest economic recovery in world history. Thanks to sleepy, creepy Joe Biden, he's saved the world and the global economy. Yeah, I'm just not buying it. And I said the same thing maybe 6 months ago. And after the last couple of months, as inflation trended downward and the economy was supposedly already on a fast track to recovery and markets were up over 10%, people pointed to the markets, pointed to jobs numbers and said, "You're crazy, man. We're back in it. Back in the bull market." Well, it seems as though not exactly. Joe Biden's economic recovery is hardly a recovery at all, and the damage sustained isn't going to be healed so quickly. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how dishonest and how incompetent this administration is. We've got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so take a look at the markets. Just today, down 2 to 3%. The last week has been absolutely brutal, basically across the board. And again, I'm going to make this same point. The markets have not moved since Joe Biden was elected. Sleepy, creepy Joe Biden took over, and he constantly paints this picture as if he took over during a nightmare scenario. That everything was going to hell in a handbasket, corn pop. Listen, Jack, I inherited the worst economy known to mankind, he keeps telling us. And he keeps claiming that he's put it on the rebound. But if we take a look at the last 2 years, markets remain stagnant. Little moments of up and little moments of down, but if you take the trend line and you draw it through the graph, the market is flatline. Outside of being a very keen investor, gold was a pretty decent investment a couple months ago. Facebook stock sub $100 a share was obviously a great play as well. Buying energy stocks ahead of the Ukrainian conflict, also a great play. Outside of those specific plays for people who are incredibly savvy, I'm not one of those people, although I did buy Facebook. The markets as a whole are pretty much dead. And so over the last 2 years, I'm looking around like John Travolta, looking for the signs of this great economic recovery that Joe Biden keeps touting. He keeps bragging about how good of a job he's done on the economy and how his policies are building up the economy from the bottom up. But there is, of course, no evidence to suggest pretty much anything positive economically. Quite the opposite, in fact. And every single victory lap that this administration has taken has been preemptive and left them looking like fools. We saw many consecutive months of CPI inflation decline, which was obviously a positive sight to behold and what a lot of people were expecting. But Joe Biden immediately jumped the gun and took all the credit and said, "See, inflation's going down and it's directly because of my policies. It's me, I'm the one who did it," even though he told us inflation was supposed to basically disappear a year and a half ago. But he ran his victory lap too early, and inflation numbers for January recently dropped, and they were much hotter than expected.
Headline, year-over-year number, hotter than expected, guys, 6.4%. Headline inflation is going the other direction. We're going up again. Remember, we've been going down for 6 months. Now we're going up 6.4%.
Prices are once again on the rise. We're not seeing a steep decline in inflation. We're seeing continued persistent inflation. That's a really bad thing because the real impact is on wages. Joe Biden keeps saying wages are up. Karine Jean-Pierre says the same thing. But again, they're patting themselves on the back and promoting this talking point, but it's a flat out lie. Here's the changes in real month wages. On a month-to-month basis from April April 2021 to January 2023. What do you notice as the trend there? Not a single month of positive wage growth. In other words, every single month, the American people are getting poorer and poorer. You're making less money as everything else gets more expensive. The Biden administration operates in the news of the day. Oh, we got this little headline, this specific number that we can market and say, look how great things are. But that's not how the real world works, and that's why Biden, frankly, has been full of crap this entire time. It's the concept of lagging indicators. Economic turmoil doesn't happen overnight, and you don't get to just shut down the economy for 2 years, devastate supply chains, and add trillions of dollars of new money into the money supply without any consequence at all. Slowly but surely, things are going to collapse. And I think the writing's been on the wall this entire time, and I think this right here is basically the writing. Credit card debt and household debt are at all-time highs. Interest rates are the highest they've been in over a decade. Initially Jerome Powell and the Biden administration kept telling us, well, the way we see it is people have amazing savings, therefore everything's gonna be alright. Well, how long will those savings last if people are getting poorer and poorer and falling further and further behind every single month with no end in sight? Even Barack Obama's former economic advisor is warning us, is telling us that we're not out of the woods yet.
I look at tips, I look at swaps, they have break-evens of inflation of around 2%. I just don't see that. I don't see how we have inflation much below 3% this year. I don't see it coming down below that without a decent-sized recession, and nothing in this numbers gives me comfort. Yeah, it's not a surprise relative to the expectations we had yesterday, but compared to the narrative we had a month ago, where we thought inflation was coming down, I think this inflation issue is real. I don't think it's going away anytime soon, and I think anyone who's overly calm about it is making me nervous.
And so the idea that it's a V-shaped recovery and Joe Biden deserves all the credit is complete nonsense. I think as a YouTuber, we have one of the most powerful tools to really be able to tell what's going on in the economy. CPMs, advertiser dollars, the amount of extra profits and extra cash that companies have to spend on advertising and marketing. If the economy is booming, ad rates go up. Well, ad rates have been going down for 2 years straight, and they're currently less than half of what they were during the bull market days of the Trump administration, or during the stimulus money printing boom in 2020 and early 2021. Joe Biden's economic recovery is an economic mirage. It's nothing but propaganda. It's a lie. My view is that he is misleading the American public. Take his word that everything's fine at your own peril. I, on the other hand, am choosing a different path. I don't trust a single word that this frickin' clown says or any goon that works in his administration. And I'm going to keep operating with that strategy because so far, I've saved myself from a whole lot of financial pain. He wants to convince you that it's all over. Well, I don't think we've seen the downturn yet. Maybe I'm overly pessimistic. It doesn't really matter my perspective. Until the Fed flips and until I start seeing some healthy economic indicators, I'm not changing my perspective and I'm not trusting Joe Biden. That's basically what I got. Just a little rant on the economy and the constant perpetual lies coming out of this clown in chief. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, friends, and I'll see you on the next one.